Welcome back everybody to our day 3 of our Mather tour. My name is Tori and I do work at the STEM Education Department at the Great Lakes Science Center. I'm aboard the William G Mather and we'll give a few moments to those who are now joining us. So enjoy some of our cityscape while we wait. So yesterday we talked about the Mather during World War II and its impact on bringing supplies in terms of iron ore back to Cleveland. Now the reason why Cleveland was receiving so much iron ore is because the Cliffs Company was located here, and this was a fantastic point to go ahead and transport it to the rest of the country. Now what we're gonna skip ahead a little bit into the 1950s, and I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about the storm on the Mather in 1951. Now again, if you recall where this ship went, it went all the way up to Duluth, Minnesota and back. Generally in November it gets very, very rough. Anyone who's around the lakes know about the November gales. So this is an excerpt from one of the coal passers that worked on this ship during that time. His name was Tad Pemmican. I'm sure I messed that up, but I'm foreign and I can't spell English, so forgive me. This is the story of while he was on this ship as a coal passer, which meant he passed coal to the firemen into the boiler. He was fairly young. He was only 18 years old, just graduated high school when he started aboard this ship. He had been on a couple other ships, but this was his first real big bulk freight ship. Now, as you can see, these are our hatches to our 4 cargo holds. They're telescopic, which means they slide back, and for those of you who are looking, that is a dead fish on one of the telescopic hatches. Our seagulls like to give us gifts from time to time, and these right here are called dog ear clamps as well. So they make sure that everything is tight, waterproof, and is accessible, and nothing gets lost in a storm. The storm happened in 1951 in Lake Superior with reports of over 40-foot waves. The captain at the time thought this ship would be able to hold since it's riveted and not welded. And you can see the rivets along the deck line. That gives a little bit more flexibility into a storm rather than the welds. Now, Tad, never having been in a storm before, went up to go see how it was, and he said there was 30-foot columns of waves coming across, and that's the size of some of our buildings in the background right there. So if you can imagine, it was very hot. Well, his excitement soon died off when he went to return down into the engine room to continue his duties, as they were going to push through the storm into Lake Superior from Whitefish Bay. Now granted that most ships had already set anchor and got to safe harbor and found shelter from that storm, but we went ahead and tried to push through it. Now what wasn't realized at that particular time is the hatches all the way forward in the ship from cargo hold 1, those are the hatches that have that white over them, they had been damaged at the last port. Tad had realized, or he noticed, that every time the ship went down into a trough of a wave, it wasn't bouncing back as he thought it should. And he was like, surely somebody else is noticing this. This is my first storm. Nobody seems to be panicked. But eventually he grew uneasy enough to tell the engineer, and the engineer noticed it as well once it was brought to his attention. They ran on the inside of all the cargo hold right below our feet to cargo hold 1, where there is about 10 feet of water. Now, anybody sailing knows that when you're taking on water in a storm, it could be the end. Our first and second mates ended up trying to seal it from the top with anything that they could get their hands on. Now, once the captain was informed that they should actually go ahead and turn around, he did make that call and turned around and got back into Whitefish Bay to ride out the rest of the storm. Now, during that time though, all the lights went out and Tad was left alone in the engine room. Now, being the first storm, knowing that there's 40-foot waves out there, so they can't man lifeboats, knowing that the ship was taking on water and they were still heading out into the storm, he actually thought that this was going to be the last storm he saw ever. Luckily for him, that wasn't, and he became a radio broadcaster several years later. He hung up his excitement of the Great Lakes and moved back to Minnesota.